Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. We're back here in the hotel again, luxurious circumstances, holding our microphones like I don't know what, like people without tripods for their microphones. For the Tour de France Stage 21 recap, we're both exhausted. It's a Champs-Élysées sprint with the procession, with people showing off the jerseys at the start, and it's actually a slightly uphill drag. That's what I never realised, and Tom was reminding me that our guy Zwift, Tom Coles, shout out to Tom. He's like, yeah, this is why you have to do more watts up the Champs-Élysées drag. And yeah, you can see it. Like even when the last sort of exposure breakaway got caught today, like they were going backwards on that hill. Or not a hill. That's still a bit too much to call it a hill. Anyway, Jakobsen, Groenewegen, Ewan, Philipsen. It's a lot of Benelux people. Wout van Aert, and they were the main sprinters. Christoph was still here. They've lugged themselves over the Alps and the Pyrenees for a reason. The Green's locked up, and I feel, Benji, like, I don't know, there's probably some statistics out there about abandonments. Maybe there's less than last year, more than last year. But I feel like the heat, we had COVID positives, has decimated the lead outs, and we're seeing like scrappier lead outs with like less control, even on a pure sprint stage like this.
I have no one to credit because I forgot who posted it on Twitter, but I remember that someone posted that 2 days ago, this Tour de France had the most abandonment since 2006, but this morning we started with 2 or 3 riders less because Izagirre decided to go home. He decided to...
I need to check if he's in their top 10 on you, because he was up there on GC. So 25 UCI points gone. And like they need every point. So I mean, he might not be in their top 10. I hope they checked, but yeah. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, he decided to go home because he wants to raise a race, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't be racing in his hometown, which is I have no clue where his hometown is, but we'll take it. We'll take
Basque
it.
Country.
Well, that's not a town.
Nah, it's a region, autonomous region in Spain. But yeah, I'm going to guess Bilbao or Vitoria-Gasteiz, which probably isn't in Basque Country. But yeah, he went home. I don't think there was any other real news. The main news really was a concerted attack or a pre-planned attack that left out. Who was Geschke wearing polka dots today?
He was wearing polka dots today.
I think he refused to participate because the 3 jerseys, yellow, green, white, went on the attack. Wout van Aert, Pogačar, Jonas Vingegaard at the start of the stage when it's supposed to be champagne time, and Geschke wasn't there. I think because Geschke said, I don't want to wear the jersey as a loner from Vingegaard or somebody else. I kind of get that, to be honest, but he has to. Like the race organizer requires you to. He has no choice. And I think he was like, nah, sorry. I'm not feeling it, not in the mood.
Yeah, it was clear like that. That attack was pretty funny to me. I enjoyed that stuff. Them playing around a bit at the start. Wout van Aert leading Pogačar in that attack with Vingegaard trying to chase up. So kind of like week 1, right?
Well, yeah, it was kind of like when what was the stage where Van Aert bridged Pogačar to the break?
I don't remember
because we didn't see it, and there's no live coverage, and all the commentators were like, "Wow, Van Aert, he's done a great job marking Pogačar there." And then the comments came out later and was like, "Oh, he was one that bridged Pogačar over the break." Oh, okay, that's not great. Anyway, Champs-Élysées sprint. In honor of Roglic, who's not here, who actually apparently he's still recovering from his injury, so Vuelta might be in doubt with those rumors. In honor of Roglic, Sepp Kuss, when they were doing the Sky, everyone holding hands, tried to crash out everybody in the Jumbo-Visma team, but they're missing Van Hooydonk, who had to go home yesterday for family reasons. They're missing obviously Roglic as well as Steven Kruijswijk. So they're holding up their numbers, I think. Champagne sipping we might not have been. They're probably sipping 0% champagne. Shameful stuff in the Jumbo-Visma team car. Wiggins was back. I don't know why. Can anyone tell us why was Brad Wiggins gone from the bike? Because like Contador, a great rider and all, but I heard aquí estamos al cola del pelotón, and like about 1,000 times. And whereas Wiggins, you never know what you're going to get. So glad he was back in his element. Wiggins on the moto, one of the highlights of the tour for me if we're doing highlights. But yeah, one of the highlights was us coming to Paris for this last stage. We're here mainly for the Tour de France Flamme avec Zwift, which was, I think, a more, the whole race is a real race and a bigger moment, frankly, than the procession here. I always feel like the Tour de France men's race kind of finished yesterday, frankly. But yeah, we were here with courtesy of Zwift, checking out the race. And yeah, it was a great stage. So we're encouraging everyone, if you not sick of cycling yet, or you want some more, which I'm really looking forward to the women's race, and it's something different as well, which is always good to watch. The FAM Stage 1 podcast is already up, and the highlight video on my main channel, Lanterne Rouge YouTube channel as well. So Zwift and ourselves, we're calling everyone to watch the FAM, watch the women's race. The sprint field is ridiculous, frankly. Vos, and you never know. Like, you don't know how long these riders are going to, like, these mythical generational riders will be right. And Van der Breggen retired last year. So, like, Vos, I don't know, but you watch her in her element today and tomorrow while you still can. So you can check out all the recaps of all 8 stages, or 7 left, on LRCP. And thanks to Zwift, most importantly, for the time in Paris, which we've enjoyed greatly, and for supporting the podcast. But Benji, when the race actually did kick off, who was in the break? Was there an intermediate sprint today?
There was a KOM at first. Simon Geschke took it, the 1 point. Legendary Côte de la Forêt de Meudon. Perfect French. Look at it. What an improvement from the Valoran.
Côte de Valoran, I say.
Perfect. Anyway, exactly. You have Jumbo processing at the front of the peloton, attacks by the likes of Rouge when we get to the actual Champs-Élysées section, because that's where the moves usually start happening. The peloton kind of speeds up towards that section. They spend about 7 hours on the first 20 kilometers to then speed up towards Champs-Élysées, and the attacks start flowing. Jonas Rouge, Tratnik, and Silthov. Plenty of people trying to get in the move. Latour, Nyland, Spolit, Cosnefroy at like 50k to go. Later we had moves by Bissiger, Standulf, again Tratnik, Mathieu Borgodot, Julien Alaphilippe from the Aldi, or AliExpress. What is it again? It's one of those. Walmart.
AliExpress Jala.
AliExpress Jala.
And we met Alaphilippe's cousin-in-law today as well, I think.
Well, he said he was Alaphilippe's cousin to me, so...
But then I was saying things, I was like, oh yeah, see you in Andorra training sometimes. Like, oh, Andorra. I was like, okay.
Maybe it was a scammer, I don't know. But nice guy anyway. Anyway, plenty of people trying to join the front. Mathieu Jorgensen attacked for a bit. Martinez was up there for a bit. So how the peloton decided, today I'm going to go into the attack. And then we finally got a group that stuck for quite a bit. Schachman in there for Bora. Owain Dull and Jonas Rouge once again for EF Education first. EF really making a point about being in every single move in this Champs-Élysées stage. That is for sure. Lagak bridging and Antoine Dechaine. And that's the 5-man group that we saw literally in the distance, passing left and right on the Champs-Élysées. We saw a few heads bopping up. And there were some people dropping off the back ASAP fairly soon, because the peloton started speeding up towards the final 20 kilometers is what I saw as it. And the dropped riders, I think Dechaine and Lagak were the first to drop, because I swear there were 2 EF riders popping past me with another rider that was not a Groupama rider.
I think Duel might have gone too. I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, that was just like Lotto. All the sprinters teams at this point had everything under control. It was all fine. It was Lotto, Alpecin, Bike Exchange, Quickstep, all just controlling, and not controlling too much. Like, you could even see in a couple of the laps, they were chasing properly when the gap was a bit bigger, but when the break was on its last legs, when guys had been dropping off it, you could visibly see that actually slowed down on the rise up to the Arc de Triomphe as it was getting into the last sort of 20, 15 kilometers. And then we had some, not even meme attacks, they're genuine attacks from second and third on GC, but these weren't coordinated. I do wonder if they had been coordinated, if they might have been slightly more effective, because Thomas starts to lead out for Ghana on one side of the road, and we can see Pogacar winding it up. We all know he's going to do it, and he starts to wind up on the other side, and then they sort of meet in the middle, or Pogacar goes ahead, and I was like, I don't know, I feel like there is a world where Pogacar and Ghana, in different circumstances where it's coordinated, where Ghana's in good shape, actually could pose a problem on Champs for the sprinters teams, like Vinokurov.
Yeah, but is it not too far away when they make these moves? We're talking about roughly 7 kilometers still to ride on the Champs-Élysées. Like, you're destined to have plenty of sprint teams that still have domestiques to ride you down, right?
True, and like, when you attack that late, they're never going to be out of guys. They might have to use their second last man when they don't want to, but they're never going to be out of guys. Whereas, yeah, if you do an attack in the last 1500, if you do a Christophe Laporte attack, and suddenly it's Sagan and Ewan and Christophe looking at each other with 600 meters to go in Philipsen, then yeah, they have good prospects for success. But yeah, they got reeled in by two strong guys who've been really strong in this Tour de France. Pollitt, who's had a really heavy workload actually this Tour de France, and particularly with Kamner, who then left, like Pollitt was then trying to go from domestique, but he'd been pulling as a tug buddy for Kamner and co.
Yeah.
Then he was trying to go for stage wins. He had a heavy workload. Then Quinn Simmons for Trek Segafredo, for Mads Pedersen. And we had a similar Laporte finesseur attack from Benjamin Thomas, and I'm not sure who was behind him. It was an Arkea rider on his wheel. I was like, is he leading out like Hofstadter, who's his friend? But it was weird because it was in the last 1500. It's when they're going towards the chicane, I think.
In the tunnel, right?
Yeah, it was late, and usually it's hard. Like I get it. Sometimes guys go at 3, at 2.8 when teams have 3 riders each, and they're like, no, you go, you pace. Okay, I remember that last year on the other side of the road. But 1.6, I was like, a bike exchange, I think the Thomas attack really, that was the beginning of Groeneweggen's sprint in the lead out going slightly wrong.
Yeah, Benjamin Thomas indeed making that move. And we saw 2 teams in the peloton kind of riding next to each other after they caught that Thomas attack, and that was Bike Exchange and Alpecin. And I think Alpecin had a limited amount of riders left. I think 2 riders on the right side of the road, and that is before the chicane is still coming and so forth. And we've got Groenewegen with multiple domestiques on the left side, but is it enough domestiques to make it to the line? That's the answer we would have. And Jasper Philipsen basically puts himself in a very good position by getting in the wheel of, was he directly in the wheel of Groenewegen going to the final section, or?
I think so. And Groenewegen, a lot of things kept going wrong for him. Mez gets tried his best. You can see there's the side on camera. Bike Exchange do have good numbers. They got better numbers than Alpecin Phoenix. Groenewegen is in decent position, but a few things go wrong. First of all, that Thomas attack. Second of all, Jasper Stuyven was in the middle, was in front of Groenewegen. And I think Groenewegen was hoping, he's like, please do a lead out as if I'm Pedersen and don't just pull off. And I think it was Stuyven. Pulls off, stuffs Groenewegen, because when Mezgets pulls off, and you see Mezgets was like, Groenewegen is not coming through. Mezgets, he's out of saddle, gets back in the saddle, looking around like, oh, come on, someone has to start sprinting. And Groenewegen, actually, there's another, I think Philipsen, was just waiting really, really late, and Groenewegen had to, I don't know where he opened up, like 300?
Yep.
Like super, super far. And Wout van Aert showed last year, you can go from far if other guys get boxed in, if you have a good lead out, if other people box them in, but 300 against Philipsen's too far. Philipsen showing the cleanest pair of heels, wins this by maybe 7, 8 bike lengths. His third week, we both picked him. Probably the first thing we've said correct this tour. I think he's actually the short favourite. Probably I didn't check. But yeah, he wins easily, 8 bike lengths. And I think that's the reason I went with Philipsen was not because I think in UAE Tour Stage 3 next year that Jasper Philipsen is going to be faster than Dylan Groenewegen or Fabio Jakobsen. I just think he might. His positioning's better, but I think his recovery, just getting over the hills, it just must have taken less of a toll, I was guessing, on him. Even stage 15, he showed a clean period. In fact, all the Tour de France, he's been fast. And he's just been a bit unlucky early. And I think it just being wider road today, there's less bodies, there's less lead-out man. Yeah, he's just good timing. And Groenewegen second. I think Christoph third. He was fighting, again, Ewan. I haven't checked, but Ewan was fighting Christoph for Groenewegen's wheel. And then I think he stopped sprinting. Yep. He's come 8th. And I think he might have stopped sprinting on the Laporte stage too. And like, I don't know, like they need the UCI points. I know it's only 25, but like they're not in a place to just stop sprinting. They also, the whole team's been dedicated to him. And I'm not saying he did stop today. He might have been checked out or drop chain from Christoph. But if that has happened, that I think that would be pretty disappointing if you're someone like Andreas Kroon or Vermeersch. Vermeersch wasn't allowed in the break on stage 19. They had to pull all day. Yep. So, I don't know.
Yeah, certainly. And like, when it comes to the Philipsen sprint, I wanted to judge it a bit. Like, the reason I picked him yesterday was because I feel like his maneuverabilities during the sprint, his ways of trying to figure out a passageway through the spots that you don't even see a passageway from the helicopter shot. He just slides through 2 riders like there's an actual hole in between them, while there is often not. And that makes such a good quality, because that means that if you're in a bad position, you can sometimes fix it. It didn't work out in week 1. It started working out in week 2, and it brought another victory today a bit as well. Although I think his Alpecin lead out brought him to a position where he was able to choose the wheel himself quite nicely, which was basically one of the perfect wheels, the lead out from Groenewegen from 300 meters out. So a perfect bike exchange lead out for Philipsen today. That's for sure. Some shout outs to top 10 riders. Jeremy Lecroc has been getting multiple top 10s this year in the Tour de France when it comes to sprints, together with Mozzato. So the sprinting when it comes to BNB, who is getting a 15 to 19 million sponsor next year in Pro Conti.
I believe it when I see it.
I believe it. I believe it.
Okay.
I've heard too many people talk about it.
I mean, they must have a great sponsorship guy. I mean, have you seen them in the Tour?
Well, apparently,
Goujart's been all right.
Yeah.
Goujart's been all right getting in some breaks. And yeah, okay. 15, 19 million, okay.
Well, it's to expand the team,
I
obviously.
guess, yeah, to compete with, yeah.
But hey, when it comes to this year, they don't have that money yet. Fred Wright doing a wonderful sprint as well, 10th on this one, which he's had a wonderful Tour de France, to be honest. He's been really strong in breakaways. It's a matter of time before the guy gets a stage win, in my opinion, that's for certain. But that kind of seals the deal when it comes to this final sprint stage, right? Or is there, and if is Philipsen on the level of Jakobsen in terms of sprinting?
Well, I mean, Jakobsen, the hills definitely, like, he didn't come in the top 10. I don't know if he had a mechanical. He seemed distraught leaning over the car. He's just not as versatile. Like, it's a numbers game. If you're going to the team is going to go for 30 sprints a year with a guy, or 20 sprints a year. 30 is probably a bit many, and not all of them are going to be pancake flat. And then a few of them, but they're not. I'm not talking climbing sprinty boy stage. I'm just talking, like, I don't know, the stage 15, like with a 5% or even a 4% climb, and you just know Philipsen's going to get over it, no problem, and his legs will be fine on the other end. And like, it's just been a really big problem for Jakobsen, and I think the big mountains hurt him. It's not. I think the Vuelta time cuts are pretty generous. And this is his first Tour de France, I think.
Yeah.
So the Tour de France time cuts with these hard stages, and particularly the way they were raced by GC, made it very, very difficult on him. He nearly missed it in Périgueux. So, yeah, that's a long answer to your question to say, yeah, I think Jasper Philipsen, I mean, if you put Philipsen if he had Ricard, and because I would say the Alpecin team overall has not been that good. Like, and I know Gurgle's out, and it was a crash injured, and Van der Poel had to leave. A few more stages better controlled, like stage 19. They were missing a guy. He was missing a guy there, and I'm not blaming Krieger. They're two men down. Stage 19 or other stages, or the Wout van Aert stage, for example, he might have had 3 or 4 stage wins.
Yeah. With Ricard, he has 3 or 4 stage wins. I believe that 100%. And I'd argue that he's at least the third best sprinter in the world, if not the second or first. It's hard to compare because there's so many sprints where Jakobsen was not there when Philipsen was there. I'd have to look at everything this year again to actually make a ranking, but we do that at the end of the year.
Jakobsen's won a lot. But you look at the quality of the wins. Yeah. Tour de France first sprint stage, peak quality, can't knock it. He won another World Tour race as well before this. Can't remember if it was Paris-Nice. I think it was Paris-Nice. He towed up Wout van Aert in that crosswind stage. Koerner, he won. Let's call that is World Tour level. You can't say it's not. But then a lot of them are, Volta Algarve, but then they're against Merlier. So I don't know. I think Jakobsen's still pure speed really good. I think Groenewegen's speed is really good too. And then there's just been lead-out issues. And lead-out issues for Quick-Step too. I think this Tour de France has been, I would say, the worst the Quick-Step lead-out train has looked in a long time at a Tour de France. And it's not their fault that Mercu finished outside the time and got heat stroke or sick or whatever. That, of course, makes a big difference. But even with Mercu, and then, it was taking Asgreen with, I think, a slight knee injury or something. And I know he's Danish, etc. But yeah, the lead-out hasn't looked that good. But frankly, there has been no dominant lead-out. It's not like a Giro d'Italia 2022, sorry, you can say Groupama FDG, they were like on their lead-out. Yeah. Singeldam, Guarnieri, they were back with Demar. Last year's Quick-Step lead-out, just unreal for Cavendish. There hasn't been one at the Tour de France, really, that I can be like, okay, those guys really dominated the sprints. I think Laporte was the best lead-out man in this year's Tour de France, but kind of bizarre that Wout van Aert and Laporte didn't contest the sprint. Like, I swear I saw the green jersey in the line at some point in the last 4Ks. Maybe I was looking at my phone or whatever. But then they were in the the lineup just celebrating with Vingegaard afterwards. Like, that really surprised me that Van Aert didn't go for the sprint.
I had no clue because I was looking at the race and I didn't see them, so I was looking at the people that were sprinting, and I only just realized that Wout van Aert was not in the final
Well,
sprint.
I was looking. I was like, where the fuck is the green jersey? And he didn't contest it. I guess he won yesterday. Like, I think if he doesn't win yesterday, does he go for the sprint? Probably more likely. But yeah, like, kind of surprising to see that. I was expecting the Wiggins leading out Cavendish in yellow in 2012.
Yeah.
I was expecting that. I guess Jonas Vingegaard probably a little bit less firepower on the flat compared to Bradley Wiggins in 2012. But yeah, anyway, that's the Tour de France done and dusted for us. Vingegaard takes the general classification ahead of Pogacar, ahead of Geraint Thomas. Goodwin keeps fourth. Vlasov in fifth. Then Bardet, I think, in sixth. Off the top of my head, no, Quintana. Apologies, Nairo Quintana. That's a great Quintana in sixth. I know time gaps. I'm not saying them for a reason. They're monstrous, but let's just talk positions. Bardet seventh, Menkes eighth. That's still a good tour despite the TT disappointment. Lutsenko ninth and Adam Yates 10th.
And I think Wout van Aert beats Sagan's record, 471 to 480 now with Wout van Aert. Somebody will have to check in the comments section. I don't know this record by heart. I don't care about it personally.
Yeah, like, does anyone care about
Wout might? I don't know.
No, but like the point allocation changes every
Sparza
year.
cares, okay?
Like, not a real record.
It's not even a real record indeed because it's been like 600 in the past, but I think they're counting it from this era or something.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, not a real record. KOM, Jonas Vingegaard takes ahead of Geschke. ASO tried their best. If you read Raul's article before the Tour de France, they tried to rig it. Well, did they? Actually, that's not true. They took away double points on top some of the mountains. It's super low, like 65 points for Geschke. I'm not saying he wasn't trying. I'm saying it just, compared to last year, where the fourth place Van Aert had 68, third place Vingegaard had 82, Wout Poels had 88 last year. That's with the double points on KOM. And this year the winner has 72, less than Wout Poels. So it was just the problem with break formation. It just stuffed Geschke. And I know, Pierre-Luc Perechon did his best, but it just, GC winning an extra stage was enough to turn it, the Alticam stage. So I feel bad for Geschke in that sense. Pogacar takes white, obviously, and Ineos take teams. I think Ineos started going for teams like early. So slipping guys in breaks for teams early, which, yeah. I mean, we'll do a full tour. I mean, yeah, it worked.
Movistar 2.0 in that sense, but no, it's they still podium with Thomas, so that's a pretty damn big deal for that guy, for certain. When it comes to KOM, like, maybe this is something to talk about on the recap podcast, but would it help for taking away the KOMs on a final climb, for example?
I think that's too much bullshit. Like, I get you take away the gimmick of the double points, but taking away from the final climb is, come on, like, and the break might win next year. So then you're going to deny the guy in the break who did win on the mountaintop finish. Like, and I'm looking at it from the perspective, I want a break guy to win it. I don't want a GC guy to win it, mainly because, like, it's just, there's zero, I don't think, let's be honest, does Vingegaard care that he won KOM? Like, was that a target for him? Absolutely not. I think he wanted to win a stage win in yellow, and it just so happened he took KOM. Like, Geschke's tried to, and the answer would be, well, they weren't good enough, Cofidis, Geschke, to accrue enough points. They could have gone about a different way. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't think they need to change it too much. I just think the GC won more than anyone thought on these particular stages.
Exactly, I agree. I think the break formation is the reasoning for it. I do also agree that I personally see a breakaway rider winning this, because otherwise it takes the incentive away for those riders to even be in the breakaway to catch those KOM points. They'd only be hunting for the stage wins instead then, or sometime in the KOM jersey instead of winning it. But
also, don't you remember Wout Poels and Wout van Aert and Mike Wood's sprints last year? Like, I thought they were kind of, it added a bit. I thought they were kind of good.
You probably got a poster of like Wout Poels 10 meters before the peloton.
Wout Poels sprint low-key, to borrow Benjiism, low-key underrated, which means it's just underrated.
Yeah, it is underrated. Okay. I think a lot of people will disagree with us that they want the best climber in the KOM jersey. It's fine. Drop your comments below or on Twitter at hashtag, no, that's not our username.
At Lanterne Rouge CP.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like the points jersey. The points jersey is not the best sprinter. It's the points jersey for a person who accrues the most points. KOM jersey is for points accrual, not the best climber. In my opinion, that's how I look at it.
The king of the mountains. Like,
I know
what
it
does
is
that mean?
the guy who accrued the most points on the mountains. Anyway, I don't know why we've done a 5-minute tangent on KO, and we're going to wrap it up. We've got to go to dinner shortly. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Thanks for a lot of the kind messages yesterday. Really, really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the podcast and all the podcasts throughout the tour. It's been a lot of work, but it's very tired, but it's been a very enjoyable tour. And yeah, it's been really, like, it's been one of the best tours I've ever watched, best Grand Tours I've ever watched, and I think it's the best Grand Tour we've ever covered. So it's been fantastic. We hope you've enjoyed the pods. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow with the Tour de France Flamme avec Zwift Stage 2 recap. Till then, ciao.